We're good. We're back.
Rolling.
The great Michael. Wait, the Michael Richardson.
late
Died just like the Pope.
Yeah, passed away.
Yeah, he's not
Rest in
dead.
peace to the Pope and all the Catholic people.
He's still with us. All right, so we when we hang with Michael, we tend to get him riled up too early.
Yeah, the first reoccurring guest.
I had to tell him to save it for the podcast, and so we're gonna jump right into the conversation that we were having of Sony users flexing their lenses in our comment section because we made a reel. What's it about? Like,
I don't know.
It's about across platforms like 600,000 views. So a decent amount of comments.
Yeah.
I'd say like 6,000 comments.
And it's about Sony people only using off-brand lenses.
Right. So we have 6,000 comments of people just listing off
their G Masters.
Their G Master. They're like, oh yeah, I have the 24 to 70 2.8, like, and they just go and list. And Michael started getting a little furious in a good way, and we were like, save it for the podcast, because in the world of lenses, like we were talking about, let's talk about the ones that you want to get, because there's now all these budget cinema lens kits coming out, which completely obliterate anything that you need for video, for video, because for photography, yeah, obviously you need autofocus sometimes, like duh. If you're shooting sports, you need autofocus. You need the best autofocus. Like, that's why people don't buy Sigma. Come on. And because they're heavy. But other than that, like, for video, like, manual focus, you should already be shooting on it. So there's so many options.
Yeah, and so, like, they have DZO Film has their stuff with, like, the Vespid Primes, and then, like, they have a sub-brand called Thipoc or who knows.
Whatever you say it.
However you say it. And they,
some brand that'll get raised by the tariffs, basically.
Yeah, exactly. And so, but they're made to look like old Leica lenses. And so they've got this whole Samara C line, and it's like, dude, you can adapt it to anything. It's an M mount. And so, like, the idea of flexing lenses, like, every camera company has, like, pretty great lenses that are native. Like, Nikon does, like,
Nikon
Sony does, Canon does, like, Fuji, like, they all got their own lenses and they're fine. Like, but to say like your mount is better just because you have all of these like third-party brands, it's like, okay.
Yeah, and that's
sure.
what the
Like,
with the E-mount.
Oh man, dude, you can buy like cheap lenses and put it on your like super expensive camera. Like, okay.
I saw somebody with an FX3 and they had slapped like a really horrible 17 to 55 2.8 on it, and I was like, you're ruining your camera. Like, I know you spent $4,000 on your body. Like, buy a lens that is at least $1,000.
Yeah, well, and that's the thing. Like, lenses are for sure, and I get it, right? Like, it's really nice to have third-party lenses.
Right.
Like, that is great to be able to, like, you're just starting or you're getting into it, or you don't have a certain, like, reach. You're not going to use that lens all the time. Like, why get the most, like, super expensive one?
Yeah.
Like, I know y'all flamed on Sigma, but they've got decent ones. Like, and so, like, you might as well, like, if you're only going to use this, like, 85 1.2, like, once in a blue moon, and you're not needing it for super fast-paced stuff, like, sure, get it. It's going to be cheaper. But it's also, like, naturally, like, your native lenses are going to be better. So there's not, like, it just is what it is. Like,
yeah, honestly, the price tag is kind of there for a reason, like, with native lenses, and that's 100% kind of thing.
Especially, sorry, go on.
What would you say is the lens you have that you bought that you use the least?
The least? Now, do you really want to know? It's going to break your heart.
No.
My 50 mil 1.8.
Oh my gosh.
But the lens I use the least is my 50 1.4. I use it less than my 50 1.8 because it is, for some reason, slower and less sharp. Even at 2.8, if I compared both of them at 2.8, the 1.4 is still more blurry. And I get, like, with the 1.2, like, you open my eyes to that lens, because the RF 1.2 is just magnificent in the way that it renders like a nice swirl around like the center point, but it's in a way that still preserves the clinical sharpness, but in a way that's artistic. And the 1.4 does not do that. It's just like here, this is grandma's lens, go take it. Like, grandma was rich and spent this money on it.
I mean, when I first got into, like, Canon, I got the 100 macro, like the L series one.
Yeah.
It's 2.8. Like, I was like, I'm gonna use this all the freaking time.
Yeah.
Barely use it, bro. Like, maybe for a couple weddings when I'm doing ring shots, and then after a point, you're just like, why did I spend so much money on this?
Dude,
it's low-key a heavy lens.
I bought the 300 2.8 from like a used.
Yeah.
And
he
like
got it from Steve.
I thought I was
Sigmund.
gonna use
Nice.
it like and like when I do concerts, I do use it for like every concert. But like I thought I'd use it way more than just that. And it's like I look back and like it was not like the best investment.
Yeah. But if you're shooting weddings and you just hit your client, you can just fire from the back
That
of
is
the
true.
room.
I would say for second shooting weddings, yeah, it would be nice because you're usually like standing back and like sniping.
Yeah.
But I haven't seconded for a wedding in a second, so it's like that I don't even touch my 300. It's like
Exactly. But honestly, you got to steal on that thing. And there's no other way that you can buy it, so it's kind of
100%.
clutch.
Yeah.
And who knows, one day you'll probably get an astrophotography, and that'll be... Plus,
huge.
you have the 2x teleconverter, right? Or 1.4?
1.4.
So, like, boom, you're done.
Yeah, it does reach. Like I could basically, when I first was testing it, I went to like the church steeple at Prestonwood and like standing in the parking lot, and I could like get just the top of the cross. It's like it's
You
ridiculous.
could get, like,
pretty sick.
the welding, like,
Yeah.
the mess up. Yeah.
See the miscoloration or whatever.
Yeah,
Like,
I think like Sony users get too caught up with the fact that they have a ton of options and forget like how much one good option outperforms a billion like decent options.
That's
100%.
valid.
Because when you look at films like even 1917 used, I mean, granted it's an RE Signature Prime or like an Enzo or something, so it's literally insane. But they used a 40 millimeter for the whole shoot, and that thing looks beautiful. And I know it's a $35,000 lens, but that just goes to show, like, you get one good focal length. Like, for you, it's 35. For me, I love my 75, or I love, like, 42s or 48s. And you get one good one of those, and it can be your only lens, like, pretty
100%,
much.
yeah.
Especially if you're shooting, like, portraits, or you are, like, an old head, and you're in your niche, like, deep, and people are hiring you because it's you and it's your work. Bro, you really only need one lens. Like, let's be real. For senior shoots, I could do one lens for the rest of my life, and it would be not a problem one bit.
well, that's the thing. Like, you go back to like, okay, well, what are you investing in? Like, are you really needing every lens that ever comes out?
No.
Like,
Yeah.
I mean, sure. Again, like going back, it is. I get it. It's cool that people make lenses for your system, but at the same time, like, you don't need every single lens that's ever created.
Yeah.
Like, you got to go like, okay, well, what's the story I'm trying to tell? What is the feel that this lens is going to create? So if you like more wide angle, you're going to get more of a wide angle. If you like the like naturalistic view, you're going to get anywhere from like 40 to 50 or whatever. Like,
Yeah.
if you need that super reach, great, get a super reach lens. But like, bro, you don't. If you're spending all of your money and you're buying like a whole like 10 lens kit of Sigma primes, like you don't need that. Like,
Unless you're a genius like Andre and you rent them out and they pay for themselves in a year. Then that's allowed.
yeah, but even if you're shooting like a wedding or you're shooting an event, like you don't want to roll up and be that guy that's got 10 lenses.
That's
Right.
so true.
like,
I've been that guy this year. Because I brought my anamorphic case to second shoot one time because I was like, hey, like, what if I brought these? And she was like, yeah, like, that's a good idea. And we ended up using a lot of them in the final gallery. And they're like a center point on my website of like, okay, this is what I can bring to the table if you want. Because I have a 150, I have a 75, and I have a 35. And I was talking to Morgan, my fiance, and I was like, oh, maybe like I'll get the 50 and I'll get the 100, or it's a 135. Then if they had a 100, I'd have it right now because 75 to 150 is just a massive range. And I'm kind of like, I want a sweet spot. But she was like, do you really need those? And she was like, go ahead. And then I really thought about it and I was like, nah, like I'm not shooting like feature films yet. So it's not like, oh, I'm like, I can limit myself and be fine.
you are both about to get married. And
Yeah.
so what Morgan just did is what's called wisdom. And Cassidy
what
has done that to
spouses are
me so
for.
mhy times where it's like, but do you need that? And I'm like, but I want it. And it's
Yeah.
like, no, I don't need it. And okay, you're right. Like, but oh man, it would have been so cool.
That's why I've held off on the X106 because I don't need it. And man, it would be fantastic to take it to England and get all the pictures we didn't get last time because we weren't dating at the time. But now it's like, do I want that or do I want coffee for the rest of my life? It's like there are weights and boundaries, and I hope the lighting looks better on this episode. But
Dude, we
if
can
you
pray.
can't tell, we got new lights. You probably can't tell. I'll be honest.
It's probably fun.
It's probably
I mean, compared to the last one. I mean, the last one was actually probably our best one, but
yeah.
still
The
a
last
little
one
red,
was
but-
we kind of cooked on the last one because we had a lantern boomed.
Dude, I'm
over
telling you,
it,
but
and-
I'm probably gonna be so red. I'm sweating so bad. Like,
Oh,
I
dude.
feel like I'm a tomato.
So when we walked in this room, it was 78 degrees, and we've been in here for at least an hour now, and it's only gone down 2 degrees, and we're kind of sweating. And then I didn't realize I got the Amaran 200Xs, and while they do have fans on them, they get a little hot.
Dude, okay,
So-
I have to share one story that happened today. So actually, I mean, it's been happening over a month, but basically, Cort and I entered like that music bed short film competition, but we didn't actually submit anything. But I didn't realize that it locked me into a subscription to Music Bed, so it was $100 a month.
What?
Oh, well, yeah, ridiculous, right? For like unlimited Music Bed
Wait, whoa. You're paying $100 a month?
for the past 3 months. And I because I took my credit card or my debit card today, and I saw that, and I was like, what the heck? Like $99, like what is that? And then I saw what it was, and I was like, oh my gosh, like that locked me into that. I didn't realize that. And then I like log on to Music Bed, and it's like a year, like $1,200, like you can't like get out of it or whatever. And
They got you the terms and
way.
conditions, bro.
right? And so I emailed their bot, and like I'm not gonna lie, I expected like to deal with like the worst customer service ever, and like I just have to like Music Bed, like complete respect to y'all. They gave me a full refund.
No way.
Yes, I didn't even ask a refund. They were like,
Great.
hey,
So now we can buy lights.
they were like, hey, like we actually are offering a deal, like we're giving like 5 months for free. Like, do you want us to do that? And I was like, no, dude. Like, unless I get more video work, like I'm not paying that. They're like, okay, here, like we're gonna give you a full refund.
Yeah.
And like they canceled it, and I was like, dude, that was not what I was expecting.
Okay, Music
but-
Bed. That is so much respect.
That is
because
customer service right
That's
there.
like road level customer
Yeah.
service. The amount of times, granted, I tend to be in a stressful situation when I'm contacting Rode because anytime you're contacting Rode, you're contacting them about a tool that you use daily.
My mic has exploded. Help.
Yeah, and that did happen to me, and I thought my camera had broken, and I was like, I'm cooked. Like, I will never be able to plug in audio ever again, and I'll have to sync everything in post, which I still do, granted. But it is nice to have the 3.5 jack or TRS or whatever. But their customer service is so good. They have like a 10-year warranty on everything. And with the amount of usage that I get out of their products, that should be illegal to have a 10-year warranty because nothing should make it past 10 years in my hands, if we're being real. I know I dog on Luke for breaking stuff, but the amount of usage that I use my stuff, I'm surprised my R6 has even made it this long.
That's yeah. You texted me on April Fool's that it broke, and I completely believed you.
Yeah. I told him the shutter exploded. Did I get you? No, I got Morgan with that. I was like, yeah, my camera just blew up. And he was like, what? And I was like, yeah. And he was like, and then I was like, April
It's
Fool's.
about time.
Yeah, literally. Well, yeah, because we shoot on it so
Yeah.
much. Like hours and hours of footage. I think I've made 20 terabytes in the past 2 years, all shot on the R6.
Dude, it's been my primary camera since like 2020 when it came out.
Yeah.
And it's
Yeah.
like the leatherette is starting to come off.
It's got to.
Oh,
Like,
that's
it's
when you know.
untucking,
Yeah.
so you
Yeah.
can't even like put it back. I'm like, do I Gorilla Glue this or is
I
that
think,
trashy?
yeah, get some spray adhesive and just like
Literally, yeah.
mask it off.
And I guess it's less trashy than literally like my dangling bits.
Yeah,
Like,
100%.
Yeah, you just get gaff tape and just tape it back onto the thing.
my
Well,
whole camera's gaff tape
Dude,
now.
well, how do you feel about like people that get like the like skins for their camera?
I was gonna bring this up.
I hate them so
I
much.
think it's so stupid. Like the white, like people who get like the white camo
Yeah,
on their
or
camera.
there's one photographer like in all red that I saw, and I was like, that looks so bad. Like the point of a camera is to be black. I feel like.
I do think that it is kind of cool. Or not cool. I don't think it's cool at all. I think it's okay when people get the rubber protective ones that are like kind of drop resistant a little bit. You know, when it's like, it's kind of like a thicker one, but the stickers like D brand or whatever.
Oh, yeah.
No.
No.
I'm
Just
against
look like
that.
a nerd.
Yeah, a little bit. Like,
And like the resale value of your camera is like toast. I feel like at that point.
well, remember, guess who? You know who has one of those?
no.
Yes, you do.
No,
the
I
guy
don't.
who.
No way.
Yeah,
Oh,
yeah. Remember, because when we were shooting the podcast,
Yeah, you're so
there's
right.
this guy that we really don't like. He was really mean to us, or me. He was mean to
He was
me
mean to Cort.
because he didn't believe me that the
Cort
audio.
was so right too.
Yeah. Well.
But wait, explain it because that's actually helpful.
The Rode Labs record internally, which is like major. Like that is a major selling point of them, especially on the pros because it's 32-bit float. and he didn't believe it because we had issues with the audio, and so it was like, oh,
It's not that he didn't believe it. It's that he like mocked you to your
no,
face.
yeah, he was like, yeah, okay, buddy,
He's like, okay, we'll see how that goes.
yeah, and then come to find out they weren't even his mics. So like bold of him to say, like, no, it doesn't do that, and he was like, what, like. Really? We'll see about that.
Was this like a client?
No. It was like a big time filmmaker.
In quotes.
In quotes, yeah. Which, granted, he has made films.
Yeah. If you can call them. Yes.
Yeah.
They would technically definitionally.
He has made a
films.
video that is 50 minutes long. We
Yeah.
can leave it at that.
Yeah. There you
But yeah, we do need to put you on to the shark.
go. we
the
can
shark
show him that
movie.
one. Yeah.
We'll have to show him that after.
Talk
'cause
offline.
Yeah. Well, we
Let's
brought
just
it up
say if
on
you thought-
Bradley's podcast, and we know someone who's in it, and they did a great job. It was just everything else about the movie was
Everything
so
else.
bad, and then on top of that,
It was also, like-
he has made 30 other movies, feature length, and we were like, how are you cooking these out?
And do the pickleball one.
Yeah, he made a pickleball movie.
But that
over
shows you like
COVID.
how fast the turnaround was for his movies. Because like pickleball is like not. I feel like. I guess it's been around for a
These
couple
like
years.
Darman videos, like you know. What I'm talking
No.
about?
They're like
Feature length. We'll show you.
they're feature length Amazon Prime movies. You remember the movie Velocipaster?
Yes.
Just like that. Yeah.
Heck yeah,
If
dude.
you don't, but like not. You know how Velocipaster's so bad it's funny. You wish. No. So, yeah, we'll have to. Okay, we need to get
At
back
least I
on
made
track.
some.
Alright, here I'll get us back on.
Well, I have another one.
Okay.
I wrote this down, kind of a proverbial thing that I saw, on TikTok. The the proverbs of the phone is, if gear mattered so much, you'd already be booked. Like if gear was the answer, you'd already be booked. And I've never agreed with something so much, because never in my entire life has a piece of gear gotten me a client. Like, do you agree with that?
100%. Like, they get you for like how you tell stories and like the way
Yeah.
you see the world. And so like even gear, like most of the time when you start going to those bigger productions, you're renting stuff.
Right.
Even if it's renting from yourself, like it is all stuff that you are paying for separately. It's not like you're showing up and they're like, dude, this guy, he's got a freaking like Canon R7 DB7
7,000.
Yeah.
like this dude's shooting literal film
Yeah.
with a digital sensor, and you're like, how does that happen? No one knows, but like, but they're not getting you because of that. It's literally
Yeah.
like, and that's what's cool too, even about like video, photo, all of that. Like, everybody has different ways they see things, and like that's why like I think playing the comparison game is tough sometimes, and can be like this thing that honestly just keeps you from creating, where you see all these other people and you're like, man, if only I could do something like that.
Right.
And like, there's for sure a thing when like a level when you're just starting, like you find a person that inspires you, like Peter McKinnon, who's like was one of mine, and Casey Neistat, those kind of guys.
Yeah.
And like you start modeling your style off of that. But like, there's a certain point where all of a sudden, like you're going to find the things that you like, where you're like, man, I like framing things this way. Like
Yeah.
I like wider lenses. I like these things. And I like cooler tones or warmer tones, or the like, Michael Bay Mexico filter that some people will
The
use,
sepia
like,
tones.
Yeah, everything's like it's in a hot climate.
to
Make it
say-
orange.
Proud to say I lived in Mexico for 2 years and did not once use sepia tone in a
That's
video.
actually huge.
That's how I know I wasn't getting sucked into the cinema look.
Yeah.
I think one other thing that happens a lot in the comparison genre is people saying, oh, well, I could make that. Like, I was caught up in that in high school all the way up, and it's one of the reasons I actually ended up not going to college, is because I looked at work of students who were graduating from those schools, and I was like, oh, well, I could make that right now. And while that's true, you also didn't, or you haven't. And I think that comes into play a lot with short films, is it's like, oh, you see a bad short film, and as much as we love,
To
like
rag
everyone
on them.
loves to dog on a bad short film. You also have to respect, like, bro made 35
Admit something.
feature-length films. We haven't even made one. So it's like everyone likes to say, oh, well, I could do that. Or they're like, oh, ban podcast equipment. Oh, make
That
tariffs
is
on
the
pod.
most popular comment.
Yeah. They're like, whatever, take these guys' mics away. And it's like, yeah. You're like, yeah, I could do that, but you haven't.
Yeah.
And I think that's a big piece of like beginners, and they're like, okay, because I fell victim to this so bad. I was like, okay, I see like a brand shoot, and I'm like, oh yeah, I have the techniques down to do that. But like you're missing the entire other side of it, which is like booking the client, having the experience and like the knowledge to make that shoot happen within like a day or a couple hours, or having the social bandwidth to work with all these big names or work with a brand and see the vision and not be like, oh, well, let me take over and only do what I know how to do. And I think that's something that I completely fell victim to, is like, oh yeah, well, I have the technical ability to maybe do something like that, but you get lost in the sauce of everything else.
No, exactly. And it's like what you're saying, like there's so much more to just like, I've got the right gear, kind of going back to that question of like, or that point of like, man, are you a good person to work with? Do people enjoy working with you? Are you nice to be around? Do you do what you say you're going to do?
Yeah.
Like, do you follow through? Like when you say a deadline, like those are the things that are going to get you clients and get people to refer you. Like this guy gets great work. He hits his deadlines. Like your pricing, like sometimes maybe that might be a way that you get recommendations too. But the like, kind of on your thing, like, I for sure did the same thing of like, I would look at this and be like, man, I could do that too. Like, well, why? At the end of the day, like, if you don't know how to do the business side too, and you don't know how to like get clients, like they're not going to find you. Like you just think all of a sudden you're just sitting there and you're like, why edit photos better? It's like, well, that person is actually getting hired and getting referrals and doing these things. So like it kind of, I think we might've talked about it last time, but like maybe you got to go do a spec ad, do some work for free. Maybe you got to try something out. Like, you're not going to just get hired because like you say that you're good at something.
Right. Yeah, that's stupid. And I think the pricing thing, I continually have people with positive reactions to my pricing, and that's the only reason that I know that it's working. Because, well, also I like reach out to Michael or reach out to someone else who's in the same boat, or like way ahead of me but in the same boat, and I'll be like, hey, like, what do you think I should price this at my current level? And then 90% of the time it's pretty much spot on, or like $100 off of what I was going to say. And then you get on a client call, and I had this happen this week. I gave the price, and their reaction was so overwhelmingly positive to it that it hurts a little bit sometimes if you get too greedy about it, or you haven't like really put thought into your pricing. You're like, oh, well, they're happy, I should have charged more. No, like if you're happy about the price that you put down and they're equally or more excited about it, take that as a win, because that's like almost an instant referral. If you do a fantastic job on the shoot day, you overpromise and underpromise and overdeliver.
Yeah, the other one's bad.
Yeah, the other one's horrible. And so yeah, I think that's kind of a lesson that we can all remind ourselves of on the daily, is like, yeah, maybe you can do it, but
well, it's like the Dunning-Kruger effect. Like the idea of like, oh, I just learned this thing, so now I'm an expert and I'm like a pro. Right. And it's like, everybody I think goes through that process where you just started doing photos and you're like, man, everyone should be paying me $1,000, and you're like, nah, dude. Like, and then eventually you kind of level
$30 maybe.
And well, and everything in life, the Dunning-Kruger effect, you can notice it, where it's just this idea of like, you think you're an expert, you go in, you're going to try and like change the world or something, and then you kind of like, as your knowledge actually grows, you start realizing like, oh crap, I don't know anything.
Right, which like, continually happens, because I wanted to bring this up, is our hate comments are refining us. It's like the refining fire, dude, because we're getting so much hate for color grading, we're getting so much hate for lighting, and like other stuff. And we need to take a break or no?
It's okay.
And that is only helping us get better, because yeah, you guys cooked us in the comments, and you're right, and that's okay, but like we're better for it, and like we're learning.
Kidnapping service.
Yeah. Oh, and welcome back to Cort. So basically, Michael, why don't you explain what you've been working on for the past, 2 months, 1 month?
Since January-ish, kind of in and out. And so
4 months.
Yeah.
Okay.
A lot of like pre-production. So we've been working on like the National Day Prayer broadcast, and just kind of like flying all over the U.S. for getting shots and getting different elements and segments. And we've got a lot of people that have been sending in stuff as well. But yeah, it's been pretty fun. Pretty huge.
Sweet. Cool. So when we did it, there was a segment where he came to the church that he attends, and then I am currently working at, and we like brought in some students to talk on camera, and we were kind of joking, and he was like, "Yeah, it's so funny. Like high production shoots are kind of the same as low budget shoots. We just have more money attached," and he explained the setup that you used that worked like a charm, because it's the only reason this is really funny is because it's going on national live television, like for the world to see. And meanwhile, we essentially use the same setup we'd use for, say, an Instagram reel. Or
100%.
Yeah.
Like, so in DC, like we filmed a lot with like the FX6 and FX3s. We had like the fancy stuff, right? But at the end of the day, we were like, oh crap, like we need to get a couple more things. So we're gonna do some shoots here in Dallas to get some pickups. Literally use the Canon R6 with a 24-70 and I think a 70-200 in a couple shots, and set up a couple lights, like so you had like a nice little key, and then
not even like super nice, like a newer panel light.
Nice.
And then just boomed it with a little Rode to what is it, you used like the Shure or the so I had a Shure MK400, which is like their little like 35 millimeter jack, whatever. And great, it sounds so good. And I plugged that into the Rode Pro, Wireless Pro, or whatever. And then like it sounds so good. And literally like you look at it and you're like, this is like the jankiest little setup.
Right.
But like all that matters at the end of the day is like, how does it look through the camera?
Yeah.
How does it look through the lens?
And
like,
we were like setting up, and you get kind of insecure, especially when like we bring in Michael as a guest. Like obviously we've known him for years, but it's like, okay, like, is he judging our setup? Because we literally we're bouncing our light off a bed sheet, like a white bed sheet that's all tattered up, hanging by two C-stands, which C-stands are the most professional investment I've ever made, finally. So that's nice. Highly recommend them if you. Oh, they shockingly fit very well in my Honda Civic, I must say.
There you
go. I was impressed. But it's just funny because he was like, well, does it look good on camera? And we were like, yeah, I guess. And he was like, well, then it looks good. And it was like, that's the end of the story. And he jokingly said, he was like, yeah, save the cable management for when you have clients. And it's kind of true, but also like it's good to have practice and like good workflow and stuff. But
having good form is nice.
We literally have a bee's nest of cables
that
could catch fire. Not actually, but for legal reasons. That's
there might be something living in that, but it's fine. But no, it's like that's kind of the funny thing. Like the more I've gotten to do and been lucky to do kind of bigger projects like that, it's really cool to notice like, oh man, like these same principles apply to whatever. And like if you can pull it off cheap, like the cheaper you do it, one, higher margin. But also like all that matters is like when your client shows up, so that's actually, let's break that apart. That's two different things. When you know what you're doing, like you can pull something off and make it look super great with cheap stuff, right? Like talking about having a bed sheet right here, you're like, there's a term literally in filmmaking called Hollywooding it, because it's just the idea of like, some guy's holding it, so he's Hollywooding this light, and you're literally like, it looks great on camera, and that's all that matters. Now, when you're doing a client shoot, like if you're shooting for someone, like at that point, there is a perception level. Like, you may know that your Canon R6 Mark II or whatever, like, is going to have like an incredible cameras, like, or incredible image. But like to them, they're like, oh, dude, you just showed up with like this thing.
Yeah, tiny mirrorless DSLR. And that's what's funny is like everyone always jokes about slapping a matte box on like an A6000 or whatever. And it's like
a battery grip, a random cage.
Literally me, bro. Literally me. Well, okay, that's the thing is like we were dogging on my power bank setup. Because basically, I run a power bank with power delivery into a dummy battery that goes into my camera. Super convenient.
It's goated.
Because the weight distribution, beautiful. And then on top of that, you get less overheating issues, which is super nice. And I bought that because I thought I was going to get a monitor for my anamorphics. I just felt like a brokey and didn't want to buy one. But now the Shinobi 2 came out, and it's like $300. So I might end up getting that. But you could plug like the monitor into that and the camera into that, it'll run all day, no issues. And if like say my NTG video mic runs out, boom, plug a USB A cable into that, USB-C into the thing, done, charging. And that peace of mind, just knowing like this is my camera setup, it is fail-proof completely. I'm even having someone 3D print me a mount that is like it like secures the cable into it like a cable lock, and that way it doesn't wiggle around. Just to
dude, I just had to buy another micro HDMI cable for
yeah,
my monitor.
dude, because
they
break
all
the time.
Somebody broke yours, I think.
Oh,
Yes.
no way! I didn't know that. I was literally showed up to.
They breathe on it? Like-
No.
I showed up to a major shoot. Like, right, I'm shooting a commercial for a client on my Steadicam, and my monitor, like my cable, is just broken.
How long ago was this?
Like 2 weeks, 3 weeks ago.
Oh
maybe.
no, then they didn't break it.
And-
The person I'm thinking of didn't break it.
And I show up, and it is just it's toast. And well, you asked me
Micro
that,
HDMI
look it
might
up.
be the
But,
dumbest
like,
invention of all time.
that, but also, so then like I had to do the entire shoot just using like the back of my camera on a Steadicam, and like honestly, it's fine. But it just looks so not professional to the client. That I was just like,
true.
Because I showed up with it on, and I had to take it off, and it's like,
I am gonna have one of my friends. He makes climbing holds. I'm gonna have him make me a wooden top handle.
Nice.
And I'm gonna
That'd
fit
be
it with
cool.
like, cause I've been looking for a nice, affordable keyword. I know all you guys out there with like, you're buying $400 wooden camera top handles.
Carved out of elephant
You
tusks.
literally, I'm like, bro, you got bones from King Tutankhamun's grave. Like, no, I cannot afford that. I'm trying to spend like $25. So I'm gonna get him to do me a handle where the handle goes out over the lens, so it's more balanced, with a hot or cold shoe right there, or like RE locating pins on the end, and then another RE locating pin on this side, or a cold shoe or whatever I need, and then RE locating pins at the bottom, so it's like, and then straight into the thing in my camera, like the
Nice.
But yeah, super nerdy. But I just think it'll be nice. Plus, this is kind of gross, but over time the wood will like form to my hand, which is kind of sick because it's like it has your own touch. You know?
Nice.
Is that gross? I don't know. Just like
Neat.
Anyways,
Cool.
but
Well, yeah. And
gave me the weirdest look. When I was like, oh no.
Well, it's like you want to be happy with your rig and like be comfortable with your camera.
Right.
Like that's really like kind of what matters. Like if you show up and you're like, I've never used this camera setup before, and then like you're gonna trash the whole shoot. Like,
Yes, bro. If you can't find a menu, that's why I kind of hate shooting on Sony. Is their menu system?
oh my gosh.
I'm not a fan of it. I understand some people are. I think the folder, inside folder, super inconvenient.
Super. I never shot on one, and we were shooting, and you handed me the FX3 and told me to set it up, and I just like stared at it blankly. And
Yeah,
I'm,
you were like
pressing buttons. Like,
"Oh."
how does this thing even work, dude?
Yeah, because with Canon, you'll have a menu inside a menu inside a menu, but only for like if you're adding a LUT or like adding like something super specific to like your audio recording preferences. Everything else is just menu inside menu, which I think is the way
Dude,
to do it.
Well, that is interesting. I don't. You just told. I'm gonna go off on a tangent about coloring because the way you taught me to color was with the adjustment layer LUT.
Yeah.
But it's like now with our new LUT, it's like the 2-in-1 built in, so you just literally copy and paste it on.
Right.
I honestly don't like that as much because I feel like I don't have as much control.
No, not at all. And the way you learned is actually kind of cracked because now I'm having to backtrack, and because Michael taught me how to color grade back, 4 or 5 years ago?
Something like that.
And so he was kind of new to it. I was completely new to it. And so he knew what to do in terms of like really nice basic adjustments within the HSL wheels. But you didn't teach me anything. This is not your fault. This is just time crunch. You didn't teach me anything about the hue versus hue or hue versus sat.
Yeah.
So now I'm relearning all of that and learning how to do the skin tone line and stuff. Bro, game changer. Because now, granted, it takes literally 5 ever to get all that
Literally.
down. But hopefully this episode looks really good. It is going to low-key look trash, though, because we're turning it out in, 5 hours?
Literally.
So
Something
it'll be
like that.
rough. But
Dude, in color grading, like, I mean, here's the thing. Lumetri, great. You can get a really good image out of it. Like there's a lot of like crazy intense grades I've done with Lumetri, but in the last year I've really been trying to like learn Resolve.
Mm-hmm.
One, it's a game changer, and when you start feeling like competent in it, you're like, oh my god, like I've
With
got
the
so
notes?
much more like, oh yeah.
Yeah.
I saw y'all's real trashing on notes. Here's the thing, bro. Like it is so much more like fine-tuned control when you start learning how to like properly use it. I've watched so many stupid YouTube videos
Yeah,
about
I
it. Where
bet.
you're like, and there's a lot of trash ones out there too. So you have to find like actual professionals.
We used to joke about Michael only, like, every time we went to talk to him, he'd be watching YouTube videos on the job, and it's like, no, this is my job. I'm learning. Like, leave me alone.
Well, and like especially when y'all were students, y'all would show up like when you get out of school, and like
Yeah.
here's the thing, we know when y'all are coming, so it's like, why would I do my most intensive work at that
right.
time? Like,
right.
like okay, it's at 3:00. All these students are about to run into our office and be like, ice cream.
Yeah. Is that what I was like?
No, some of the 7th graders were, but
Right,
like,
right.
so you just know you're about to get distracted. So I'm not gonna like lock down on a grade or like an edit,
Yeah.
but.
That's
And
what
just
they
slack
are.
off.
I was like, that is what is nice though. Like when you're working, like even today, like I was trying to figure out how to do a certain Photoshop edit, and I just like pulled up a YouTube video and just like learned like
Yes.
more about grading.
Because with Adobe products, bro, anything you can think of, you can do, which is insane. And I know some people might be like, oh, it's harder because you have to pull in from this app or this app. Who cares?
Dude,
the
okay.
fact that
They're all great tools.
I can think of something and Google it, and as long as I can figure out what to Google, and now with AI, you don't even need to know what to Google. It is so nice. Like the fact that you can organize your workspace and like all that stuff.
I will say it is nice, but like my big gripe with Adobe is because like I wish there was like a cross between InDesign and Photoshop, because the amount of time I use InDesign the
that's
most 'cause
fair.
I just love InDesign. I guess I was a yearbook editor, so like I just love InDesign, and like the amount of times I want to edit like an image, like just pull a subject out of it and then I have to go do that in Photoshop and then bring it back in.
like make a
is
sticker.
the bane of my existence.
Yeah,
Yeah.
That's kind of annoying.
Like I just wish there was like a tool that allowed me to do the layout of InDesign with the editing of Photoshop. But
I
that'll
feel
never
like
exist.
there's definitely a way to like integrate the two a little more seamlessly, but
I feel like Adobe's like they don't care. It'll never happen. But
I just don't like that they changed the hotkeys.
that's
between
true
apps.
too. That's so.
Like,
Oh,
if I'm switching
yeah,
from
yeah.
Photoshop to InDesign or Illustrator.
like if I want to export in
Like-
Premiere, I can Command M it, and I want to export anywhere else, it's not Command M. I'm just like,
it's like
what is it?
Command P,
Yeah,
and you're like,
what are we
bro,
doing?
what?
That's tough.
Yeah, I will say the new DaVinci update might change things for me because they added like basically Adobe Podcast into their app. They added multicam editing for free, obviously.
So we can get rid of Autopod?
Yeah,
No way.
yeah. So
It'll like do auto like subtitles
it-
for you and change the colors and.
and it checks the lips against the wave.
We're just gonna put Autopod out of business.
Yeah.
It's all y'all's DaVinci. Hey, you're about to learn nodes, bro.
Yeah,
Oh
yeah,
my
we're kind of cooked. What if I do everything backwards? We edit in DaVinci and then pull it into Premiere to color grade. We're probably gonna do that for the next like month with all of our client work, just
Low-key.
until we figure everything out.
Color, yeah, better.
But Autopod, I'm sorry, bro.
Yeah,
Plus
honestly,
your
I'll
subs-
cancel that subscription.
Well, your subscription, their subscription
it is
insanely
expensive. It's like
expensive.
$34 a month. Like, dude.
Yeah. Oh my God.
That's like my biggest issue with Adobe products, though, is like it gets so expensive.
That is true.
Yeah.
And like that's where, and here's the thing, like at some point, Blackmagic's gonna have to figure out a thing where like everyone's now using our product. They said that they're not gonna go to a subscription model, but I think they mentioned and floated the idea of like paid upgrades. Kind of makes sense.
I would hate that, but
But,
fair
like,
enough.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
mean,
They
compared
also-
to like literally, you're dumping $100 a month or something.
In
or-
my opinion, they just need to make their cameras a little
Dude, what
bit more
do we-
reliable.
What do like for Adobe? I guess I pay for Photoshop, Lightroom, and Premiere. I don't even know how much I'm paying a month.
You don't
to
pay for it
Adobe.
though, do you?
I have a personal one.
Your
yeah.
company should pay for it.
Yeah, but like I have a personal.
Why?
I did. I don't know if I still do. No, yeah, I do. Because I have a separate Lightroom that houses all my stuff. I guess I don't need that.
Yeah,
you
no.
go to the photography license.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've haven't paid for it since like
Hmm.
freshman year of high school because I've just been working for like somebody and they pay for it.
Yeah, I pay for the photography stuff for Adobe, and then I use DaVinci for my personal stuff. At this point,
That's smart. Wait, you don't have like a Premiere license at all?
not anymore.
Dang.
I mean, I
Wow.
still use it for work because I've got a work
Yeah.
license.
Oh, okay, yeah,
So
yeah.
like my 9 to 5.
I thought you were gonna say you completely flipped to the dark side, and I was like, bro, who is this man?
No, I'm trying to get more comfortable with it all. Like it really does run great.
Well, 'cause I used to use DaVinci in like 5th and 6th grade and high school, But it's like it's been
You love
years.
DaVinci.
I loved it.
But
I would only use Premiere. I literally only used Premiere for green screens, and that was it.
I thought it was the
I don't
other
know if
way
it's
around.
still is it still hard to do it? No, because Premiere has chroma key, so
Oh,
easy.
it's so easy. The Ultra key.
I don't know if DaVinci's still hard to do.
I don't know.
DaVinci, I think it's even easier now because you can have full like magic masks. I had to fix this one shot that. It's always tough when you're editing something that you didn't shoot. And You're
Yes.
like, crap. How do I make this look good?
Yeah.
And so it's like they did everything wrong. They filmed outside in front of a white walled church.
Yikes.
So that's super overexposed. And then they were like, well, let's like make him not overexposed by having him stand in
yeah.
shadow.
Oh no.
So he's underexposed, the background's overexposed, and you're like, this is like,
It's done.
this is the worst. And so
Yeah.
like, but using the magic mask, like, even though it was like there are for sure parts on the church that are like blown out, I could hide it a little because it was really computer intensive. But literally, like I had it like mask every single frame this dude was in, so that he would be one exposure and the background would be a different exposure.
No
And I
way.
like blended it, which like.
the render time was like 11
Oh
hours.
yeah, you're like, all right, well we'll see this like 5-minute clip in an hour.
Yeah, literally. That's insane.
But like it was super helpful. Saved the whole project.
Maybe we'll have to switch to DaVinci, which is funny because I think the issue with this podcast is since we are filming, our filming schedule is whack. I'll just be honest.
It is.
Like we're filming today and tomorrow because Luke's bachelor party is this weekend.
Congrats.
It's gonna be so lit. We're going to Austin. I don't even know what we're doing. I know we're
all
going
I
to
know is we're doing a comedy
we're going
show,
to
and
a
that's
comedy
it.
show. It's gonna be hilarious, but it's gonna be a blast. And so we're filming today and tomorrow. And then also Luke works down here in Dallas. I work in Prosper, which is an hour drive at least. It took us an hour for me to get here from Plano, which is absolutely insane.
It is atrocious.
And we tried to even beat traffic, didn't even work. And so our recording schedule's so busted that by the time viewers are seeing our reels, it could have been a month because it's a week in between when the shoot happens and then when the shoot thing comes out, except this one will be like 6 hours. But then sometimes the reels won't blow up for like a month.
Yeah.
And then like a month later, we're getting absolutely clowned in the comments for like whatever mistake we made a month ago. And so that's why like I will never not shave before a podcast again.
I'm lucky worried about it, but
We'll see. Yours isn't as bad as mine though,
Yeah.
because mine like grows my neck grows all weird and I look like chopped. So it's kind of tough, but it really opens your eyes to all the things you're doing wrong when you blast your life out on social media for the world to see.
I just like also need to address like the laziest comment that we get from you guys is the make podcast equipment more expensive comment, because we got that on like a reel yesterday.
Yeah.
Which was like actually like a very nothing insane take. Like there was no reason for that comment to be left. I think it's just like the laziest comment.
Well, I think what's funny about our clips is the way you edit them is so baity now, because he'll take like a really valid piece of information and then he'll slap on some wild take at the end that just absolutely
Well, that's what you
the entire front of the video becomes pointless and people forget about it, and then they're like commenting about what they just heard.
even
and they're
like
so
even like
angry.
in the reel that we posted today, I took this one clip, which was Ted in a completely different part of the podcast,
Yeah.
and you can see the cut. But like
Yeah.
in social media, no one cares about hard cuts, and so it's like I put the most controversial thing first, and then
and just we ended up getting absolutely bullied for which is so funny because what do you think? What are your thoughts on AI in cameras? Because it's
no wait, this is good. This actually brings up a comment from today. So the Sony World Photography Awards just happened last week,
Thank God.
This guy Zed Nelson, shout out Zed. I don't know really who you are, but he won, and they asked him about AI in cameras, and he said, "quote Wait for it. The biggest worry in documentary photography is people stop believing in what they see, and already we're at the stage where we can see an image, and the first questions are, is this photoshopped? Did that really happen? Did you move something, or is that real?"
Yeah.
And the joy and beauty in photography, the problem is that the joy and beauty in photography is to see something and be amazed that it really did happen.
Yeah.
And now future generations.
I think we're moving away from cameras being scientific and moving to them being like auto tech, which
Yeah.
I absolutely hate, because film obviously is like kind of amazing.
But don't you feel like that's sad? Because I feel like our generation almost is the last generation of like true photographers.
Oh, we're mentally cooked, dude. I was helping these I guess they're like 8th or 9th graders getting like involved in volunteering, and they were like waiting to be put into the volunteer group because like they arrived early. And so I sat and talked with them about like phone usage, because I was like, do you guys have phones? Like, here are my thoughts. And they like wouldn't believe me. But then when I told them, hey guys, we sat and talked here for 2 hours and none of you guys were distracted, that is literally going to be impossible the second you get a phone. Like, no one else. Like, if you go to high school, no one else will ever be able to sit with you and have an intentional conversation with you for 2 hours. And they like couldn't believe it. And then they're like, wait, I think you're right. Because one of the kids had just lost his phone. Like, he just didn't know where it was. And I was like, don't you feel so free? And he was like, yeah, I don't even think I want it back. And I was like, dang, that is the way that the world should be going now, because I am slowly just hating. And that's what we talked about with Bradley, is like the fact that we're making stuff that gets people on our phones is such like an ethical dilemma. Yeah. Because it's like, as much as I hate phones, it's also like a huge part of my job. Yeah. So
it's weird. I've been off social media for like a year-ish, and I'll hop in occasionally and like to post stuff with my
and do
wife.
the ice bucket challenge that I'm forcing you to do.
We'll see. But the it's been so freeing. Like,
oh my gosh,
because you like the comparison goes away. So
Yeah.
I'm not seeing like every photographer and their grandma's post and me being like,
and being like,
no.
ha ha ha. Oh.
Yeah. But then like it's almost easier to create when you're like not focused on consuming, like where you're more like freed up to be like, oh man, what's an original thought?
Yeah.
Like versus like, oh man, here, which, okay, now there's a valid point of like original thoughts. There is no original thought. We're getting into the philosophy.
Who cares?
But the idea of like, oh man, like, why don't I just make that thing?
Right.
And now it did freak me out at first, is like, as a photographer, as a guy that does video and like all that stuff, I'm like, well, how am I going to get paid? Like, because I think there's almost like, you feel landlocked where it's like, well, I have to do social media. Like, I have to be on
That's
Instagram.
so true.
And it's like, you feel trapped, and like, you feel like then you have to play the algorithm, you have to do these things. And there's benefit to doing that, but like, you don't have to.
Not at
like,
all.
you don't have to feel trapped to being like, well, I got to do this thing. I got to do this thing. Like, it's like, no, dude, like, just go create, and like, kind of what we talked about earlier, like, build a good relationship with clients. Like, you'll get hired. Like,
I think that is the position that we're in right now, though, is like, we do the podcast because we love it. And there is an aspect to it that we are a little bit, we do put some strategy into it, but at the end of the day, we're only talking about stuff we like.
Yeah.
And
Well, that's what it is to me, kind of, is like, I haven't been on my personal Instagram in like 6 months.
Yeah.
And like, but this to me is like something different, because this is like kind of what you were saying, it's a place just where we create. Like, I don't consume on this account. I guess I do respond to some comments every now and then.
Oh,
like,
a lot.
But I'm not like watching reels or like going through like liking people's posts. Like, it's just, it exists just to be as a piece. Not, I don't want to like be like stupid and call this podcast art, but like, it exists as whatever it is.
Yeah.
Online.
Some form of expression.
Which is so funny, because I think we got a comment the other day. It was like this guy, he was like, I used to love this podcast. Now I hate it. All you guys do is share your opinions. And I commented back. I was like, God forbid we share our opinions on our own podcast.
On my podcast.
And he was like, oh, you're right. And I was like, yeah. And it's like, as much as this is a good place for people to learn, because I have heard, like, people have emailed us and texted me and been like, oh, I was going to ask you a question, but you actually answered it on this week of the podcast. I love hearing that. That's like so nice, because obviously one of the goals in life is to like turn over the next generation and like help them in the way that we were helped via YouTube or whatever. But in the same way, like, we're making this to have fun. We're not making it for necessarily like validation or whatever. And it is super helpful that we get comments that are hateful or that are encouraging. But at the end of the day, we're not going to change the way we're doing it. Like, we've had people say, oh, well, why don't you do a multicam setup? No. We're not going to do a multicam setup.
We don't want to.
We don't want to do
just the amount of work that would add to make this not fun anymore.
Yeah, it would literally defeat the entire purpose. And like, the lighting setup
I love that. That's awesome.
is supposed to be simplistic. Like, we're always going to use specialty lenses. Like, that is something that I decided off the bat. I was like, and we did have some trouble agreeing at the beginning, because I had picked some lenses and he hated them. Well, we used the Helios originally, and you hated the way it looked.
It was it looked like log footage almost.
Yeah, it's because it was just way too soft. We didn't have enough light. And then yeah, it was rough. And then we used a Pentax 28mm, which is a clinically sharp photo lens, but it just didn't work on the podcast.
Yeah.
And now we've settled on these anamorphics.
Settled.
Dude,
We've settled on anamorphic.
Yeah, which is such
the money's gone to your head,
such
guys.
a
You're too big
spoiled
now.
thing to say. Well, at the end of the day,
Dude,
I mean,
speaking of getting big, like this is insane. I don't know. I guess
also,
we mentioned it.
we just want to say thank you.
Sony.
We've hit. Oh yeah, thank you Sony for following us. Yeah,
That's insane.
yeah, that was such a.
We
You
blessing.
guys hated them into loving you.
We literally that is
That's what's happening with Sony users.
unbelievable.
Is we dog on so many Sony users so much that they follow us and comment on every
Dude.
single video.
I know,
No, dude, it's okay. The color science is fine. Like,
literally, but like Sony follows 230 people on Instagram.
They
And
follow
they follow
us.
this podcast. That's ridiculous.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, that's
Thank you.
insane.
And also, thank you for 1,000 followers. I'm just gonna go ahead and say it. Like, I feel like there's a lot of things in life that are only made via hard work and just thugging it out sometimes. And this is one of those things. And it's not even about the numbers. It's just the fact that we made it past 7 episodes.
Yeah,
And I think this is our 25th, right?
maybe I have no idea.
It's like 24 or 25. And that just makes me happy
maybe
that
'cause we're at 129 reels.
yeah,
But we haven't posted every day. But I wish we had.
right.
Well, it's been cool to watch, like, as a third party, y'all's skill and y'all's ability to, like, tell stories and create, like, both with this, but other stuff. Like, it's grown a lot.
I appreciate
Yeah,
that.
thank
I
you.
mean,
Yeah.
that
I'll
came
get
from you
Yeah,
pouring into
literally.
me, and then
Literally.
me trying to force Luke into into this. And now
We're
it's
still
like
getting
we're
there.
all learning on our own in a unique way, which is really interesting to see. Because like your stuff, I mean, dude, you've progressed so interestingly. Not necessarily in your technique is is not what stands out to me. It's the artistry behind it. Because when you got your when you got into your street photography phase, you like completely transformed. Like it was so weird because originally I was like oh, like weird, like maybe he just like likes going on walks or something, because you would post like a lot on Instagram. Not a lot, but for street photography a good amount. And I was like, dang, like bro's cooking. And it wasn't that the photos were like miraculous, but there was so much thought behind it. And then that has just creeped into all your corporate work, which I know like it's hard transitioning to corporate stuff because it's like, oh, I don't get to be as creative.
Yes.
But like you've taken and you've done the same thing, like working at the law firm, like you guys have literally taken corporate stuff and flipped it on its head. And I feel like we're in such a good position working like basically 9 to 5s, but we're in a space where we can still like use our brains. Like I literally get to make whatever I want at work. And I think that's what you were saying earlier about getting off social media is where a lot of churches are falling short right now is they're just
They're trying to hop on the trend.
They're seeing someone hopping on the trend. And while that's great, because maybe your students aren't seeing the other accounts, like be a little original, you know, have some fun with it. And I think it's so much more rewarding when you get to make something and be like, okay, this is my little baby. And then also what comes into it for me and you, and now with you and like learning old style film techniques, is using those old shooting techniques to just make everyday content is so fun for me. Like using like literally cinema lenses to make an Instagram reel is so entertaining because it's like, okay, cool. Like I know exactly what I'm doing. I know which shots I want to be locked off. I know why I'm shooting this handheld. I know why I'm choosing my mic position, whether it's boom or lav or whatever. That is so like, it makes my heart so happy, even though I'm literally shooting like an Instagram story, knowing like why I'm doing it.
This is just like a genuine question, but like, what frame rate or frames per second do you? Because when I started shooting, I was like, I'm only shooting 24 because that's what movies are shot in.
Right.
And like, only recently have I only shoot 60 now because the amount of times that I want to slow stuff down.
Yeah.
But I feel like that wasn't explained to me when I was starting, and I was like, I want to shoot 24.
Yeah.
And now it's rare. I mean, I guess for podcasts I shoot 24, but like if I'm shooting any commercial, I'm pretty much always shooting 60 now.
So I only shoot 60 if I know I'm going to slow it down. Regardless of what I'm doing, I'm always putting my 60 footage in a 23.98 timeline. So if I'm shooting a sports video, I'll always shoot 60 because sometimes that raw guttural feel of 60 in a 24 timeline is really intriguing to me. Like seeing kind of the camera shake and the motion blur that comes, or lack thereof of motion blur, is really engaging to me. Like at beach camp or whatever, seeing like students getting super hype, if it's left at 100% speed, and then you can slow it down to 40, and it's like, oh, this is a little more soothing.
Well, I think for me, because like the reason when I really switched to 60 was this last wedding that I shot.
Right.
Because I had my Steadicam, I didn't get there in time, and I knew that I wanted to shoot the entire thing like smoothly, and like which meant I was probably.
And he
gonna
doesn't have any image
slow it.
stabilized lenses.
Yeah, don't any image stabilized lenses, so like it's rough out there. And so I was like, here was what I'm gonna do. So I built it out, put a side handle on it, and I was like, I'll shoot 60. If I need to, I can slow it down, or I can put the warp stabilizer on it, and maybe it'll.
Good luck.
I hate that thing.
But I mean, 60 ended up, when I slowed stuff down, it ended up working and looking great. But it's like, why have I not been shooting 60? I guess with a Steadicam, I can shoot 24 or shoot whatever I want. But I don't know, 60 just seems like
I shoot 60 and slow it down pretty consistently.
So would you mix that with 24 frame footage too? See, I feel like I don't mix. I just choose one for a project and I stick with it.
Yeah.
It definitely depends on what you're shooting. Like, first off, thank you for the flowers earlier. That meant a lot. That was sweet.
Dude, of course.
But back on your question, yeah, it depends on the project, 100%. Like, if it's a story-based content, and I'm wanting it to feel real, I'm going to shoot the whole thing in 23, or the 23.98, sorry.
It's technically 23.976.
Just, and yeah, I always put it in that same frame rates timeline. Like, there's also something weird with I can't explain the science of it, but
it's mental hacking.
There's a whole thing of 23.98 and 29.97 and 59.9. You can put if it's TV broadcast is I think typically the 29.9 whatever. You can put that in that timeline while it's still 29.9 whatever, and it's fine. So or 23.98 whatever. I don't know. I don't know that part, but other people have told me this thing that do know that thing, and I trust them. So, but anyway, I shoot at 23.98 of 20. I shoot at 24, and then I don't want to keep saying the freaking numbers.
Right. Just know if we're saying 23 or 24, we're shooting 23.976.
Yeah,
that's all you need to know, and putting it in that timeline.
Yeah. So anyway, we're shooting 24, and but then for things like beach camp with student events, or even if I'm being hired to come shoot an event and it's just B-roll or whatever, I'm typically shooting in 60,
right?
So that it can be used in however way.
A lot of people ask for S&Q mode too, especially when you're shooting on Sony. I hate S&Q mode.
It just automatically slows it down for you.
That's I don't see the hype. I get knowing, okay, I have 120 footage. Awesome. I never use 120 footage, so I don't really see that. But whatever I do, I'm always editing in a 23.976 timeline. And then if I'm I will often switch between my frame rates on a shoot. But if I have to pick one frame rate, I'm always shooting 60, because 99% of the content that I shoot is supposed to be hype and engaging. And that
it communicates that.
Nice shake that you get from putting 59.99 footage or whatever into a 23.976 timeline gives you just this disorientation that when you go back to 60 and slow it down to 40%, it just feels nice.
Well, you'll see it used in action movies too a lot, where they call it overcranking, and so it's where everything's really sharp, and so you have that cool staccato feeling.
That's a good word for it. Yeah.
So it's very pop, pop. You see Daredevil come in and he flying kicks someone, and you're like, whoa, dude. Yeah. Versus if that was in 24, it's gonna be this smear across the screen.
Yeah.
You're like, what was that?
And the reasoning
a Jason
for that,
Bourne movie where everything's
the real explanation for those of you who are very beginners and don't know anything about frame rate or shutter speed, or you're shooting in auto and you're trying to figure out your frame rate, the reasoning for that is as much as it is the frame rate, whatever, who cares? It's your shutter speed. Because when you're shooting 23.976, you're supposed to be at 1/50 to double. This is not shutter angle. This is shutter speed. I don't know anything about shutter angle.
Shutter angle is basically just it keeps that. Okay, so there's a whole film history to it.
Yeah.
But it's the idea of whatever that double your frame rate is, it just is keeping that for you. So in a cinema camera, you don't have to keep going oh, let me change the shutter speed to this. You keep it at shutter angle as this.
You keep it at 180.
Yeah.
Okay, so this is cool. So you're shooting 180. This is the same as shooting 1/50. So then when you go to 59.98 as your frame rate, then you change your shutter speed to 1/125, which is generally all that your camera allows in terms of stoppage because you're supposed to be doubling. Everyone knows that 24 times 2 is not 50. We're not stupid. Everyone knows that 60 times 2 is not 125, but your camera has that setting. So then you're stopping your frame like and like you're opening your shutter faster. So like instead of saying whoosh, you're saying like that is what you're getting. So that's why it feels. And this brings me to my next point is we get so many freaking comments of people saying, well, the client doesn't notice. I don't care if the client can't explain what is going on. They can notice. Like, you guys know our color grade sucks. You guys know if a video is offbeat. Clients don't, maybe they can't explain it.
Clients aren't that dumb.
Yeah, maybe they can't explain it, but they can feel it. Like, you feel stuff. That's why if audio is slightly off, you can't watch the video. Like, if your audio is tingy, you can't watch the video. You just feel upset in your stomach. You're like, why is this video uncomfortable? And so making every Instagram reel as comfortable as possible. Like, that's why a lot of people are transitioning to shooting on iPhones so things don't feel like ads.
Yeah.
Like, just comforting your audience. Maybe they don't know why.
Dude, speaking of shooting on
come
iPhones,
on.
though, I mean, why would you shoot an iPhone when you could shoot on this? Okay, so this this is a brand new like smartphone from China. It's called the Vivo X200. It's designed to rival traditional cameras. So like it's supposed to be competing with like the R6 out here, but it has a micro Four Thirds sensor. It has two 50 megapixel Sony sensors and a 200 megapixel Samsung sensor, all supporting a 10-bit 4K video.
Wait, whoa. This is like a turret style camera?
It's like, I guess, four, yeah.
Like it's
four different
triple censored.
Yeah, yes.
But 3 micro Four Thirds sensors?
I'll give you the exact text in a second.
Okay.
All supporting 10-bit 4K, 60 frames per second, and up to 120 frames per second for slow motion. We're going to have
in
to
4K
up here.
120 in 4K?
I'm assuming because it says and up to, it's probably 1080.
1080.
But,
yeah, that makes sense.
Okay, but we're going to have to overlay this because it's ridiculous looking.
So, okay, here's our grievance with this. Granted, micro Four Thirds, I know we hated on it. For this use case,
Oh, no,
excellent.
I think they're 1-inch sensors. 1-inch sensors each-ish.
Is that just a normal phone sensor size?
Probably.
I don't even know, dude.
Who cares about phone sensors?
But they have but it gives you the equivalent focal length of each lens. You have a 35, a 14, an 85, and a 24.
Which is an insane lineup. That's incredible.
Ridiculous.
However, this is where it gets unbearably
We're going to have to
bad.
put this on the screen.
Yeah, we'll overlay this up. But it has an attachment basically where you can attach a shutter button and record button, I guess in a dial as well as
Wait, you attach the shutter button?
Yeah,
I
so
thought
like-
the whole time
No,
that
no.
came on the phone.
No, that's an attachment.
Okay, good.
And so you can attach this on top. It's like a case, if you will.
It's kind of sick.
As well as a 200 millimeter telephoto
For
lens.
this, you know what the market is for this?
Moms.
Soccer dads. Dads who are filming clips of their kids playing soccer.
It's actually unbelievable.
This is the most goated
I
setup.
want to know what the price is.
Yeah. If your kid's in goalie and you can't reach them from the bleachers, this is your answer. I know a lot of my dad would kill for this phone.
It's
If
like
he wasn't on-
$900.
That's kind of a steal
Like
for
not
a phone,
actually
bro.
horrendous.
Did you see the iPhone
worst part-
17 is like $2,600?
Is that
Like-
because of tariffs?
I
Or-
think so. But
Okay.
dude, Apple, what are we doing? Like,
Unbelievable,
What?
dude.
No one should be paying over $1,000 for a phone.
That's ridiculous.
You're about to have everybody switch to Android. That's the biggest problem with this
Yeah,
game.
Yeah, is that it's Android. If Apple made that thing, oh my gosh, people would be foaming at the mouth.
Oh my
MKBHD
gosh, yeah.
would be like,
It'd be freaking out.
yeah.
Dude, the day Apple gets into like DSLR mirrorless cameras, that will be actually
Which is so
ridiculous.
funny because we got so many comments of like, oh, Apple already made a camera. Samsung already made it.
Bruh, shut up.
Apple also made a mouse with a lightning cable on the bottom. Like, bro.
And haven't fixed it.
There's some bad products Apple's made.
The amount of times that I have to switch over to only a trackpad, because this is how I edit. I edit with a mouse on this side and then a trackpad on this side. So I can zoom in and out of my Premiere timeline with this hand and then mouse with this hand. Goated setup.
Actually, it's
I
not
gotta
bad.
say, it's actually so efficient. But the amount of time I have to plug my mouse in and just like take a coffee break, infuriating. It is so bad.
Isn't it? I feel like the Vision Pros have just like faded out of relevancy.
I know some dude who bought them and spent $4,000 is probably just
like everyone
crying.
thought, like
brother-in-law.
everyone bought them with the anticipation that like there was gonna be like continuous updates coming out. That was gonna like improve them, and I feel like they've just like halted.
Well, that's the thing. Remember, like Apple's Ethernet thing that they made, bro? I don't even want to get into that. Like,
Oh, I know what you're talking
I
about.
Yeah.
don't even know.
It's
I don't
just-
remember the name of it though.
Yeah, exactly. That's the point.
I think it was like supposed to be their version of like a modem or router or something.
Yeah.
I just like I would consider switching from Apple, but like AirDrop is too good.
AirDrop, bro, the amount of time I think I use AirDrop probably 11 or 12 times
It's
a day.
so
And
good.
that is like if you are a videographer, 11 or 12 times a day to transfer a file is hours saved. Like genuinely.
Yeah.
Because the amount of like I used on this so Easter Sunday, all you didn't shoot, you attended, but we both shot, and I was doing hot photo drops like every 25 minutes. I'd literally just walk over, AirDrop, done. And that
Nice.
like for social media work, literally game changer.
Dude, I was watching a video on how like the Jets photographers and videographers drop their footage. They have like Ethernet cords
Yeah.
like, around the stadium. They just go plug into like mid game.
Yeah.
That's ridiculous.
So sick.
Sick.
And F1 photographers often shoot just JPEG, wirelessly transmitting to like social media people, like crash editors basically, and then just like bombing social media because F1 has such a massive following, and obviously you're so limited in what you can get with F1 photography because you can't walk out onto the track. Duh. And so they're just shooting JPEG and shooting it up to the people, which
That's
is
cool.
kind of nuts. What drives me crazy is when photographers will turn in stuff like the day after an event, but it's like a hot event, and I'm like, why?
Would
Like,
you feel like it was
Yeah.
if you were the NFL photographer and like you took the picture, you Ethernet it up, and then like obviously someone else is editing it and posting it, does it still feel like your image even though you didn't edit?
There's kind of no.
Like,
no.
can you post that on your social media? Like,
Maybe if you shot raw and then re-edited it after, but there's a certain point where you're like, oh, this is not my work, and like for Gather, like I didn't make that recap. Like I was on the team of editors who made that recap, but I'm not gonna be like, oh yeah, I made this recap. No, like I worked on that team, and like I don't know, like I did like a good 30% or 25% of that work. Like sure, that's awesome. Resume, add to my resume. Handled videographers all over the world's footage, like blah blah blah. But I'm not gonna be like, yeah, I did the After Effects for this, because I didn't. Like duh, like. And I feel like that's the same thing. Like if someone else is editing your photos at a certain point, it's kind of like especially when you're a second shooter, like you can't take a photographer's photo that you second shot, sent to them, they edited. That's not your photo.
yeah, but they also can't post that either.
No, they
though.
can. That's the whole part of the gallery.
I would never post a seconds photo on my personal.
Oh, on Instagram, maybe not.
Like, if you're posting your own, like I would never include
No.
a second.
But like if someone else edits your photo and you post it on Instagram and are like, this is my photo, like just re-edit it. Take 20 minutes, re-edit the photo, boom. There, you're happy. You're a real photographer. Like
Also, like it doesn't. This might be kind of a hot take. I don't think it matters. Like
Like
just-
editing?
no, like in the sense of like
ownership.
if someone. Yes and no. It kind of matters, but it also kind of doesn't. In the sense of like, if I'm being paid to shoot this event and they want to do all the editing, okay, like here
Yeah.
you go.
Yeah.
Like, but if you're trying to build your own resume, that I totally understand. Where you're like trying to like you want to edit some of yours so you can post. it.
yeah, I don't know. I feel like it also comes to the point where you have to make that decision as an artist, if you will, because like sometimes like when I'm shooting for like an artist, they'll be like, we want the raws, and I'm like, no, like
No.
you hire me or don't hire me, but
Yeah.
I'm not giving you. I'm
Especially
editing,
when you
like,
shoot
know.
for free on
Yeah.
a concert.
Like,
you
don't
ain't
get,
getting
you
the
don't
raws.
you ain't getting nothing.
You ain't getting any re-edits. You don't
Yeah,
get
for
notes,
sure.
nothing. Like the farthest note we've ever gotten was shooting in black and white for
Which we did not do.
Yeah, but yeah, I think the one thing that does bother me is if someone, like, say I shoot like an event where everyone in the room knows who I am, because I've like places that I've lived my entire life. Like I've lived in Dallas my whole life, so like I walk into a party, I know like 90% of the people there, because I was hired by a family friend or something. If there's another photographer there or like a background editor, and all those people saw me taking those photos, and then they get blasted on the internet with like basically just a conversion on them, or like a conversion edit to like Adobe stock photo or whatever, bro, that's gonna hurt.
Yeah, well, and I guess like every time I volunteered with you guys, like I'll typically still edit my photos,
Which is great.
And part of that's just to help. Like, but at the end of the day, if like later down the line, because I still give you guys all the raws,
Right.
because I'm volunteering to help at a church,
Right.
Like, I'm not like, no, dude, you can't put that.
Dude, my
Like,
rose.
I need to have this picture of a kid that's not mine. Like, hey, whoa, man. Like, and let's chill out here. Like,
Yeah.
And so, like, yeah, there's level to it. Like, for events that I'm shooting, yeah, totally get it. Like, yeah, but what you talked about earlier, like, if this is a hot event, like, you at very least need to give them a couple of the posts that night.
Yes.
Like,
yes.
there needs to be a minimum.
Like
So,
drop them a 10 slide and be done.
No, in my invoices, I'll typically say, like, for events, I'm like, you have a minimum of 10 ready to go. And I usually will try to give like 20 because under promise, over deliver.
Yeah.
Right.
And so, like,
Which-
it doesn't save me that
this
much
is-
more time
this is
because
the
I'm
king of
culling
that.
through as I'm going. But, like, so to go like, oh no, I said 10 versus like, yeah, I already added like 20. So here you go.
Well, that's what I always do. There's someone that I have worked with in the past, and me, who they'll ask for 5 photos. I give them 6. They're like, no, I asked for 5. I'm like, take some creative liberty, you know?
Yeah, it's just to give people options.
Yeah, it kind of drives me nuts. And then they'll send them back and be like, no, I need a new link. And I'm like, are you like pulling my leg right now? Like, what is happening?
And that might just be knowing different clients and different bosses too, because it's like there are some people that like are in charge of the social media for clients, and they're like they may not be creatives, and that's okay. And so their job is to help run the logistics,
Yeah.
and they're like, I need exactly 10. You tell me what order, you do that because you're the creative. And at that point, it's like, all right, cool. Let me know our relationship, and I'll do that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But that's the conversations you sometimes have to have in advance, or at least you find out.
I think you
Yeah.
also have to like make like known like also like what you're not going to do. For example, I was partnering with this company to redo a website for another company, and so I was just shooting the content, and so I edited everything, put it all on a drive, delivered it to the people that are being paid separately to like design the website, and they're like, hey, can you go and organize this into folders for what you want on what page? And I literally responded. I said, no, that's your job. Thank you very much. Like, no, like,
Yeah.
I'm not like that would take me like probably hours to go through and do your job.
I've
Like,
had people ask me to like manage the delivery of images to like 3 people down the line. I'm like, sorry. Like, there's a download button for you. Like, I can show you where to push it, but like you can, if you need 500 images and sort it into folders, great.
How long
Do it
do you think is like the right time to leave like a link live downloadable for clients?
I leave it open for like 5 weeks, and then honestly, they have to learn the hard way usually, because then they text me and they feel really awkward. They're like, oh, and then it's instantly like, there's like a meme going around on TikTok, and it's like, hey, for some reason I need to log in on my other Gmail, and it's like they're like, hey, just getting that edit finished up for you, and then they click the Google Drive link and you've lost access to it, and it's like a meme about procrastination, and that's always an awkward text for them to send. So I kind of like when people kind of have to, you know, they learn the hard way, and I'm always like gracious to that. I have never charged anyone for re-upload because I do save pretty much everything. But at the end of the day, if it's been a year and you lost your files, I'm sorry. If I usually do have them, but if I don't have them, it's out of my hands. Like, I'm not going to pay for recovery services.
Yeah.
So
Those are expensive.
yeah, Luke learned the hard way on that. Not even your fault, which is so stupid.
Ridiculous, dude. I'll never buy SanDisk ever again.
We switched to Crucial,
Literally.
which stinks because I low-key do want a SanDisk sponsorship, but
Oof.
Hey, maybe if we just hate on them, they'll follow us.
yeah,
Dude, the
apparently
only cards
it
I've
works.
ever had brick on me were Lexars.
Lexar. Yes.
They
Really?
brick on me all the time.
Do you know what
Like,
I
just
use?
don't use them anymore.
I have one Lexar card. Do you know what I use it for? If I ever have to randomly drop
like
a
the backup of backups.
if I have to drop a file over to someone and I don't want to use my SSD cells, I'll just drop it on that card and walk it over. Like if it's a 1 gigabyte file and they don't have AirDrop or something, or I don't want to AirDrop it, I'll just walk over on that SD card because
Dude,
that's all it's good for.
I've had SanDisk SSDs corrupt and like SD cards corrupt.
Well, I think they made a bad batch of SSDs one time, which is why I switched over to Crucials. Because I worked with some guy who had Crucial X9 Pros or something, and they look sick.
Dude, whatever the little one that you got me to edit off of is goated.
That's the Crucial one.
It's so good.
It's so nice.
So fast.
It's like the Crucial X10. And I only sent you that rec because I watched a video of a guy who's like a professional data analyst or hoarder or whatever he calls himself. And he was like, these are the only SSDs I trust now. Because SanDisk, because, Western Digital they've had their...
They're done.
They're getting into creator stuff, and that's when the coop is... We've left the chat. Like, we're roughing it out here. And when you're dropping SD cards that are a different color because you're not making new stuff, that's kind of when it's like, so. And he was like, yeah, I use Crucial. And then I tested them, and I told Luke, because he was editing off his laptop and then a hard drive and wondering why his speeds were so slow. And then now he edits on the SSD, and he's like, this is a dream. Yeah.
A true artist.
Dude, my fan speed hasn't turned on in so long.
Yeah.
It used to crank every time I turned it on.
His dad works for IBM. How long has he worked there?
His whole life, basically.
30 years?
Since he graduated.
Yeah. And he was trying to get us to use, what's it called? What's their AI?
Oh, Watson?
Watson. He was like, you have to use Watson. It's so nice. And we were like, if you want to pay for us to use Watson, we will 100% use Watson. But we're
Luke
using
in the Wild, sponsored by Watson.
We're using free chat.
Imagine.
Honestly, we'd take it. We're using free Chat GPT, of course, for all of our description writing or whatever we do.
There you go.
But
Save time.
he was like, Luke, are you sure your fan's supposed to be on all the time? So I literally wiped his entire computer and brought it back, and his dad was like, so the fan doesn't turn on all the time, right? And I was like, no, it does not. So that was entertaining. Wow.
So you guys are starting to work with a lot of honestly a lot of people now too. What would you say, like, for like your newer audience that's just starting to get into this, like what's like a key thing for collaboration and a key thing for getting those opportunities?
I would say knowing what you're asking before you reach out to people is super important. I think a lot of people see the opportunity to DM someone as, oh, this is great. And we're actually going to film with someone tomorrow who's worked for like Mr. Beast, like Ryan Trahan's Joyride company, like Logan Paul, KSI, all those people. He's just worked through that grapevine of influencers. And he basically did it by working for free and just pushing himself and knowing people. His personality is fantastic. And I think that's the main thing, is knowing what you're asking and what you can promise before you put yourself out there.
I do think that's like the big thing, is like your personality. And like even like when I've like had to realize, because I'm like naturally so introverted,
which is
it's
crazy
like,
to me.
You have to put on a face. Like when you see people, you just like kind of have to like get up. And like I love working with you too, because I can kind of like bounce off you. I think that's why the podcast works well, is because like if I was trying to do a solo podcast, it just would not.
Luke is such a
not work.
salesman, and then I'm such a sales personality without the sales background. So it actually balances out real nice.
I think it does. And like, yeah, so I would say, like when you're reaching out to people, it's like, one, like you were saying, like know like what you're asking for, but then it's also just like being just like a nice person. I feel like and like low-key in this industry, like you'd be surprised how many people are just not nice people.
Yeah.
Dude, the amount of times I've seen like creatives trying to tear down other creatives, even going back to like what we talked about earlier, right? Like where it's like, well, I could do that better. It's like,
yeah, it's like, cool, did you?
It's like I don't know why creatives like we like always like want to hate on like everything. It's like I don't really see athletes doing that to each other. I mean, maybe
no.
Like,
it's sports. I would work for a sports team in a heartbeat. Like if a sports team wants to hire me, that familial bond that they all have with each other. I mean, you see sports highlights. The top dogs are cheering each other on.
That's what I'm saying. Like it's like so supportive. Like I feel like in this industry, it's like, oh my gosh, I need to be successful, and if someone else is successful, I'm so mad about
Yeah,
it.
yeah, it's a
like,
famine mentality.
Yeah.
But I think the reality is like literally everybody can eat. Everybody can, if you work together and you surround yourself with people that are of like mind, like that you like working together, you raise each other up. It's like
right. Like me and Luke would not be able to do 1/4, even 1/8 of the work that we get done without each other, because he has stuff that he can knock out in a heartbeat without feeling exhausted by it. I have stuff that I can knock out in a heartbeat without feeling exhausted by it. And finding that balance of crews, like when I worked with this guy on Gather named Evan, and dude could edit for days straight. Not
it's a superpower.
Like same with Isaac. Like Isaac McDonald, that dude can sit in a chair and lock in for an eternity with no complaining. Like that is a big thing. No complaining, happy heart. And like Evan would just go like Benny and the Jets, and then like lock in. Like that was his that was
his trigger word.
That was easy button. Like bro turned
His
into like
Winter Soldier code.
Yeah.
Get in.
he would literally just sit there and sing like Benny and the Jets and then lock in for like another 4 hours. Meanwhile, like I had to go take a nap and like sleep for at least 4 hours.
Yeah.
And just seeing those people who can just absolutely dial in, and then humility is a huge thing. Like not thinking that, I know it's really easy to be like, oh, I'm the best in the room, because you see what you bring, and obviously you like your style. That's why it's your style. But knowing like, okay, like I may be the best in the room at this, but so many other people are the best in the room at their thing. And
100%.
like graphic design, like the watermark graphic designers, like it's like
Incredible.
literally so insane. And watching them work and watching how they bounce ideas off each other, support each other, are so positive in how they're critiquing each other, and they don't even need help
I will
to
say,
crank all that stuff out. Is
I
impressive.
took a class with Brian Bailey my last semester of college, and like it's like a class that revolves around GOC.
Yeah.
So you get to like meet like the lighting people, the people that move in the stage. Like you see everyone does, like they're all like the best at what they do.
Yes.
And just being around that many people that were so excellent, I was just like, oh my gosh.
Yeah,
this
when
is
you're in a room
insane.
full of people who are the best at their one thing that they do, it's so inspiring, because then you're like, okay, now we can do like 200 times the work that we're going to get done alone. And I think the bottom line is striving for excellence. Like my dad used to always say, like, if everyone on the team was you, would it be a better team or a worse team? And I feel like everyone's heard that saying.
Every team would be so bad if it was all.
Well, no, but
A
think
team of me's would. Oh no.
that would be
Just a
the
bunch of
cable man.
balls.
Devious, man.
Everything would be falling over.
Yeah.
The cables would just be like.
They'd be like, dude, like in 30 years it's gonna be so good.
But that's what you should strive for, is knowing like, okay, that's where hybrid shooting comes in. Like if this team was completely wiped and I had to manage all this myself with my skill set, and my attitude, that is the biggest driver, is like, what is your attitude? And then like, what's your inspiration? And then how are you like treating people? Like if you walk in a room and you aren't able to connect with someone who's at their worst because they've been sitting at a computer for 5 hours looking at the same 40 seconds of a video, you're not an asset to that team, because you're bringing down, like, it's honestly, it's all about vibes. And that's why, which is so cringy,
Dude,
but
how do I be
like,
successful? Vibes.
it's all about vibes. But that's why you hire the people that like you
100%.
work with Isaac for a reason, because he is a professionalist. He's a director. He knows how to get stuff done without hurting people's feelings, but also in an effective manner. Like you used to say to people, you don't get paid to think when you're shooting with me, which is great.
Yeah.
Like you get paid to think every other hour of the day. This hour, you aren't getting paid to think. Let me do the thinking. And that like works so well, because then people are like, oh, I can sit back and enjoy myself when I'm around Michael and actually not worry about every action that I'm taking. Like that is what you want to walk into a room, bringing the confidence in that helps a shoot roll faster.
Yeah, and it's finding your lane, and like, especially too, if you're headed in more of a directorial kind of direction, and like you want to do that sort of thing, knowing enough about each individual thing and seeing the value in it, where you're like, man, this sound guy, like he is crushing it, he's keeping the thing, like, and not devaluing that to where it's like, oh, it's just the sound guy, or it's just the grip.
Yeah.
Like, and like you talked about, you don't want to be that person that is the most skilled at everything in the room.
No.
Otherwise, like, your product's gonna suck.
Right.
Like,
Like if your caption writer stinks, who cares about your Instagram post, you know? And because like people, that is the bottom line. Like you, I don't know if you noticed, but I put different captions on every one of our videos on each platform, because the way that people view the caption in the order that they do, because I used to be chronically online. And so I would read every caption. I'd read every comment and know like, okay, did I read the caption before I watched the video? Did I read the caption during the video? Or did I read it after the video and while the video repeats itself? So knowing what that does for each platform is as important as you matching up those cuts on our captions, so that when it locks out, like your brain is like, what?
I will say, like, when we had Andre on, he said something, and I don't know if I agree with it. We're going to process this out loud.
Yeah.
But he said, like, he wishes the younger creatives would find one thing and specialize in one thing earlier.
Mm-hmm.
And I think I disagree. I think, like, there's something to be said for being a jack. Obviously, like, there's the saying, the jack of all trades, master of none. But, like, there is something to be said of being a jack of all trades is, like, a good thing.
Well, the end of the phrase is often better than a master of one.
that was it really?
Yeah.
Nice.
So, like, there's an interesting take with that. And I think we're all three on like we're all heading to a different point, which is in order to have the humility, in order to have the competence, and in order to have like the creativity behind it all, and recognizing people as a director of, oh, my sound guy is working hard, or my gaffer is working hard, he's always in the right spot. You have to do all those jobs in order to truly appreciate them, because no one is as tired as a boom operator after 20 takes. Bro is like Moses. Like, is that Moses or Abraham?
Aaron.
Aaron.
Or whatever. Well, and then Moses had to like hold up
Yeah,
his arms.
Moses
and then
was holding
Aaron
his
came in.
arms
Yeah.
up.
Yeah.
And like, dude, like, that is not easy,
No.
you know? And there's a reason boom poles are like $150. Like, it's hard. Like, gaffing is hard. Like, knowing how a set is going to flow is hard. Like, being a first AC, being a second AC, those are things that, like, years and years and hours of experience pour into those things. And so I think what Andre is, like, missing in his point is the fact that he has had all those experiences, and so he, therefore, can pick the one he wants and hone into it. Bro also has years of experience and age on me and Luke.
Well, with
So,
what he
yeah.
and I get where he's coming from too. Like, love Andre. Like, that dude is so good at everything that comes to light. I mean, frankly, he's good at everything in terms of video production.
Exactly.
But I don't think he would disagree, but I would say like his big specialty is DPing, like directing the actual shoot in the sense of like the cameras, the lighting. So like making the image.
Yes.
He is a killer at that. And like those are the kind, and so he's right in the sense of like he specialized in that, and that's got him more work. But also knowing all the other stuff too is like super helpful. So it helps him be better at his role.
Plus,
Yeah.
like, somebody gets sick, who cares? Because, like, if everyone on the team was you, is it a better team? And so I think knowing that mindset, not getting in over your head, is kind of a key aspect of.
And it's okay to like find the thing that you want to specialize in, and it doesn't have to be everything.
Right.
Like, I know we just talked about like learn everything. Like, dude, if
Someone watching this is gonna be like,
there are some people, it's like the idea of messing with the camera and the lighting to them is gonna they want to find a window. Like,
Right.
and so like,
Right.
but then there's gonna be other people where it's like, dude, I freaking love making sure things sound right. And so like finding like your thing, that's okay.
Yeah.
Like you need those kind of people. Like, and then if you're wanting to even move towards like directorial, like what you got to do then is like you have to find those people that have their lane and they run it, and you just manage the idea, right? Like Zack Snyder, very controversial director. You love his movies or you hate him. I have a soft spot for his kind of movies. I know they're kind of brain rot, but anyway, he has a really great quote that I like where he talks about like a director is the manager of an idea. Yeah. And so the idea being of that is like, man, when you're on set, like you're the one you're making sure the ship's moving. Like you don't want to have to worry about what your lighting guy's doing. You want to make sure that they're hitting your vision. So you got to communicate that to the right people and have a good enough team to where that you can communicate what you want properly.
Yeah.
So if you're headed in that direction, like great, learn kind of the basics of everything.
That is an interesting point, because I think a lot of people who want to be directors are in a way control freaks. This is granted, I'm talking about people who want to be directors, not people who are directors, because they're like, oh, I'm a director, I'm in control, therefore I get to dictate how everything goes. What you just said is completely opposite of that. You have to humble yourself to a point where you aren't a control freak. Maybe, and that's where producers come in. Producer is a very scary, it's like a word, like cinematic is a word that nobody really understands what that means, or it means so many different things. But the guy who is on the podcast tomorrow for the following week's episodes, we're really behind on shooting, guys, he has produced for shoots. So basically what a producer is you get the money and then you hire out all your people, you get a finder's fee. And so those two positions, everyone's like, oh, those are the control freaks because they're the maybe top dogs as other people would see it. But in a way, like they just have the vision and they're able to get people they trust enough to allow themselves to not be a control freak.
Yeah.
That's such a crazy
but
word
even
vomit.
Yeah, well, it goes back to the whole idea of like collaboration.
Yeah.
Like, is okay. Like it's almost like this dirty word sometimes for creatives and people like doing photo, video, whatever. Like find people you like and work with them.
Yeah. It's definitely a dirty word for people who haven't found who they like. That's for sure. Or they're forced to work with someone they don't like.
Does happen.
Yeah, it does happen often, which is unfortunate. But yeah, well, any final remarks? I think we're gonna wrap it up.
No, I mean,
I feel like that was a beast of an episode.
Well, thanks for having me.
come on.
Yeah,
Always
thanks.
appreciate it.
that was a good time. I hope you learned something from this episode and not just heard our opinions on our own podcast. So, all you haters out there. Also, if you comment on a full YouTube episode, just know I love you so much because that means you actually watch the full YouTube episodes, which is a rare case
Yeah.
on our account because the amount of people who only know us from Instagram Reels is a majority of our audience.
Hey,
So
it's a slow build.
it's a slow grind. So hopefully by the time you're seeing this, we're at 1,000 followers, which will be in the morning at 3 a.m. So,
I don't know. We'll see. I think it's gonna be in 2 days. That's my prediction. My prediction is.
but
it'll
every
hit
time that I've made a prediction about the Instagram
April
following,
23rd is my guess.
okay, all
I might
right,
hit it earlier.
that's in 2 days. All right, well that's all. Peace
See
out.
y'all.